Hey, hello! So today we've got the new reveals for the new P and V Special Series History Collection. So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. You can see here that there's 25 triple rares that are going to be in the set. I think each of those triple rares, besides the 25th, because there's only 24 clans, will be the strides themselves, because we have seen that when you go further down on this page that I'm looking at here for my information, because I couldn't find any on the official channels actually, and then I thought, oh wait, Freedom Duo have some content. So over here we've got the triple rare icons right in the bottom, and on these cards here they've got the double rare icons as well for the critical triggers. So the triple rares will be the strides most likely, 24 out of 25 of them. The 25th card, I don't know what that'll be. Could be a Cred Elemental, could be a Token Rambu stride maybe, although they didn't specify that in the list of clans that we're getting units for, or even the list of units themselves. Maybe they just have to separate Token Rambu's reveal since it's not a normal clan. That's possible. But the crits, they'll take up basically a good amount of the double rares, about almost half of them. So 24 out of 51. That means there's probably going to be one more off a double rare for every clan, which will put it up to 48. I'm going to guess those are VRs. So like Journey Over the Cross, for example, which you can see is also getting a reprint as well. And maybe 3 more, could be Cred Elementals, maybe, I don't know. Maybe they might even do like multiple VRs for a few of the clans as well. As for the commons, they will probably just be things like Striatus, Perfect Guards of both types even, like the Draws and the Arlims, or Countercharges. Countercharge PGs might actually become better as well, because now that we've got another good crit that people want to play as well, there's actually more of an argument for playing the Grade 1 PGs. Also the old Striders, which is obviously what the this whole thing is supposed to support, right? You basically count +1 every time you stride over. So there's actually some incentive to playing a countercharge engine, especially for playing into the slightly longer game as well. So there is a possibility those might pick up and see play. But with the crits, they've been errated, so now when they're damage checked, you basically draw 1. So it's just like getting a damage draw, essentially. If you're playing that with draw perfect guards, you're playing heals, you're playing over triggers, almost every single damage check you take is going to do more than just give you power. So that's kind of funny if you build a deck like that as well. And as for the strides, they've got another thing going on with them where they've got 2 erratas, so basically 2 extra text, lines of text. They haven't changed anything, they just added more to it. By the way, the crits, they gain power and shield too as well, which I think we already knew that before. But that's obviously a nice little buff as well. So what happens is that when you use the strides, the on-hit ability, basically the attack still does its on-hit regardless of whether you heal or not. So that means now, well, you can potentially get some really strong effect off, because they were free for a reason, which is because the payoff is actually quite good. But also, the thing is that there's been so much defense creep now that they would have had to revise it anyway, so that the cards will actually still be decent, because now there's just so many ways to defend against things. So trying to defend against a Vanguard to stop it from hitting isn't that difficult now, especially the Vanguard's only swinging once for that matter. So they could have maybe done restand, they could have done like just enable the on hit. There's quite a few ways they could have made it so that the on hit skills would be more useful. And then the other text they've added is a new skill where basically in the G zone they activate. So that's obviously a cool thing. We all love our G zone skills. If your Vanguard is a grade 3 Aerial Divine Knight Almar, so that's the example for Gablade. So as you can see, it's specifically the entire name for Altmar. It's not just Altmar as in the archetype, which means you have to play that CB1 Strider, which I think all the first Striders that they made, so we're not looking at the second or third forms, we're just looking at the first one. I think they all had CB cost, so they weren't quite as cost efficient as like the later stuff that came, for the most part anyway. That's obviously a generalization when I say that, but the first waves were generally always CB1. So well, that's actually going back to why I'd say counter features are good. What you'd also be able to do is that you can only use the old triple ones, because it says here if you and you have not gained Imagine Gift during this fight. Obviously, when you gain a gift, it's mandatory. So if you play a VR, you're forced to have that Imagine Gift, which means that the old grade 3s are the only way you're going to be able to use the skill. So this is designed to make old G era cards good. And it's not supposed to help VRs, which is great because we've not had that in a long time. The game has just been phasing out G cards for too long now, and it's just been like pushing VRs over and over and over. So this is obviously great news, and for anyone that's got old stuff lying around, now your stuff is actually kind of better now, both as a trading item or in terms of deck building. So it's really nice to see these things happening. It really does put a lot of optimism in the game as well. Then If you meet those conditions, then you discard cards from your hand. Basically, stride cost. You pay the stride cost by discarding a sum of grade 3 or more, and you stride it from your G zone face down from your G zone onto your Vanguard circle. And in addition, you can then flip another copy of itself from the G zone. So it's a G persona flip, which means you're going to need 2 copies of this. So that means you've got reason to actually try and pull a second one as well, if you haven't got the old ones, or if you don't go through the secondary market either. Which you've got now the option. You can go and collect these now, as they already do exist as cards, or you can wait for the release. And obviously the release, the incentive is that you've got the triple rare reprints as well, but there's also going to be a lot of other reprints in the set. So there's still reason to actually go and pick up this set. And also you've got the updated text, which you might prefer as well. Depends if you prefer to have more text or you prefer to have less text in your card. And apparently there's going to be parallels in the set as well. We do not know what the parallels are. I'm going to guess even the on-hits might get SPs as well. So that could happen. But moving on further, so once you do that G persona cost flip, you can then gain 2 imaginary gifts. So I think it's probably safe to assume every clan is going to have 2 of their own respective gifts. So 2 Axles, 2 Protects, 2 Forces. So it's slightly stronger than, well, it's twice as strong as like the VRs, obviously, because the VRs already gained 1 marker. Now you're getting 2. You have the stride power numbers as well from it, and you have basically a free ability. So that's also going to help as well. You don't really, I don't think the skills are doing as strong, but then you've got also Stride Break, which the Stride Break, that is obviously another way you gain advantage. So they are it's kind of like power creep sort of, I think. It does feel like that to me. So yeah, that's basically what it is. You can also do this while your opponent's on grade 2. So that's another thing as well. So yeah, that's more or less it. This is the list of the strides as well. I'm wondering what would be the strongest stuff though. Do you reckon it would be like Blade, for example, because you can literally call any grade 2 from your deck, toolbox it. Now there's no on hit holding it down, and you've got now 2 force markers to capitalize on. You can probably do that. I think even Dione, which is it mentioned here? I'm not even sure. I don't see Dione anywhere here actually on this list. But Dione, I've heard, is apparently the one that they're using for Genesis. Dione can do something similar, which is Soul Blast 3 when it hits. I can't remember the whole skill, but one of those cards you check for goes into your hand, and then the idea is you can basically Soul Blast a card, and Fenrir can Soul Charge 3, so you can basically have a bit of an option, and you can basically call any card regardless of grade, and you can basically make use of the 2 force markers again. So I think even the Fenrir one could also rival Gablade somewhat, but Gablade obviously has the any grade 2 from deck, but Fenrir can technically go for any grade, but it has to be from the confines of your soul, plus the 3 that you take from deck at random when you stride. And also you're drawing with Dione, so there's also a little bit of advantage gain from that with no cost. So that's another thing, but I think Altmile is more just you gain power if you stride over, so he's not really like the most well adapted stride break, I think, for the deck. And I think you also had to have like, I don't know, I can't remember if you call, I think you do call units from your hand actually with Altmile. But yeah, there has been a thing where some striders like Arsha, you basically had to have a field set up prior to use a stride break skill as well. And other than that, I'm personally looking forward to playing Kirin. Gurgwet is going to be interesting because you can go for 3 Axles on turn 3, which is a bit crazy. But Gurgwet, to be fair, isn't really popping off that much right now in Premium, so it might not be as frightening either. And Spearcross doesn't really work that well because you actually have to be on a grade 3 Vanguard. So if you try to do Spearcross and then switch to your on-hit stride, you can't do that because your Spearcross is a grade 4. So that won't work, just to be aware of it. But you are now using Gurgwet. So Gurgwet's grade 3 can check top 4 of your deck and then call a unit. And that's obviously going to be quite useful to have. And you've also got Percival, which gain the other Axle. And Axles also draw your cards, so you've got some stuff going, which helps as well, and you're also multi-attacking, which is pretty nice. So there's a lot of interesting stuff. Some of the on-hits are pretty strong, like X-Rogue I think has a pretty strong skill. Apparently the train's good as well. Vic 10 can basically restand rear guard, but it has to be on Axle Circle, so you're not actually stacking force markers. So they're not really as strong, I don't think, as something that abuses force markers. And Gear Chronicles is going to be crazy because you can now activate GP1 or GP2. And so that's a whole other thing where you can do TikTok, melons, all that stuff while your opponent's still on grade 2, and you can basically scale for higher numbers. And one heal guardian or one damage trigger is not going to be enough. You probably need like, you're going to need at least 2, maybe 3. I'm not very good with the I don't have the best understanding of gears, and probably depends on how the whole thing ends up working, because you're playing Chronojet Dragon as well. Maybe there'll be a mix of a steam made engine. We'll see what Dave comes up with. But yeah, it could be 2 or 3 triggers that you might end up needing to try and stop a turn like that as well. So there's that too. And also they did cite that in Japan, when they banned Zazen, or well, in the game in general, when they basically limited or banned, I can't remember, I think it was limited actually, they limited Zazen because of the whole thing with the GB1 cards being enabled and doing multi-attacks while the opponent's still on grade 2. So that's a thing as well, a downside. So yeah, we'll see how all that plays out. The other thing is as well, you can mix these grade 3s as well into other decks, so you don't actually have to play a pure Almar deck. If you want to, you can play Stride Assists, which they are reprinting the set, but you can also get the ones from Revival Collection, which don't have text borders. I've got like boxes of like each one. There's like I've got a box filled for just one clan and another box for another clan of these lacking text box Stride Assists. The thing is, Oracle Think Tank though did not get the Susano Stride Assist. They got the Battle Sister one instead, which means that the Susano one will be a little tricky to get hold of compared to all the other clans. So you may need to just pick up an SP if you don't want the text box, or you could also find the signed ones, or you can find the single rare ones, but they're from all the way back in G-Set 1, both the signed and the single rare one as well. And another thing as well that I was going to say is that basically when you use the Stride Assists, you can reveal a grade 3 heal from your hand, and with that grade 3 heal you can, or even your other grade 3s, right, that you decide to main, you can even search for your Stride Bearer as well. So if you want to tech 1 copy, you could do that in case your opponent grade 2 games you, and then you just ride it and play with that. You can do that. You don't have to play like a pure Outmar deck. You can just tech it. The Stride Assists are decent cards in and of themselves. It's kind of nice now that they've become better than they used to be as well. So that's just a strategy. And also the crits. They can be used with Strides. So if you're playing any Strides that have Susano in the name, or have, well, I don't think that's as likely, Vanquisher in the name, then you can do that. Or Harry, which has been choice restricted with Nightmare Alice, so the Harry crit maybe not as much now, but maybe last year that would have been great before the restriction. So yeah, there's quite a few things you can do there as well. I think that's probably it. I just thought I wanted to just dump some strategies, but I will probably do some follow-up videos to this topic because it is an interesting topic to talk about. So yeah, let me know what you think. What kind of clans you think are going to basically benefit the most from it, or well, decks even, and or any sort of cool strategies that you've noticed that you can do with these as well. And what do you think really of the set in general as well? So are you looking forward to bringing out your G decks now, because maybe you just feel like V has just taken over Premium way too much when we've already got a format for that? It's called V Premium. So it's nice that we've got this. Anyway, I will see you guys